given a voice to the voiceless. We share the stories behind our freedoms and the ultimate sacrifice of those who protect us all. This is Patriots Inside the Wire.
Beautiful thing to see the family and friends come together and honor his life and his service to our country.
Great to see you guys out here. This is awesome, really.
Welcome to the Patriots Inside the Wire broadcast, hosted by Gold Star Mom, Tracy Two-Step.
Hello, and welcome to the show of Patriots Inside the Wire. We hope you're having a great night out there. I want to ask you to go grab your friends, share this, grab your loved ones to join in tonight on this show, a special episode with Patriots Inside the Wire and the Tree of Valor with Miss Lori. Lori, how are you doing tonight?
Great. Excited to be here. Thanks, Tracy.
Nice. Well, it's good to see you. I know you've been very busy with the Tree of Valor. And we have our guest here. Introduce us to your guest with us tonight.
So this is Navy Chief Tom Nagy.
Yep.
I always want to say Navy, but Nagy. And we recently met him last Thanksgiving. He came into the gallery and he gave us a beautiful surprise just recently and walked in and said, "Hey, I told you I wanted to volunteer and I'm here now." It was a present. It really was a present because whenever veterans come here and they want to be part of it, it helps us to know that it's a reason to keep doing what we're doing.
Well, you know that I believe in it and I love it. And so, Tom, you're joining us. It says Navy Chief. So you're Navy Chief. When did you join the military? Did you decide to join yourself?
I joined in January 1992. I had just sort of had I was 21 years old, and I had come back from Colorado, and basically this was it was a fresh start for me. It was a fresh start for me. So didn't have any intention at the time of making it a career, but it developed and it ended up being a 24-year career.
Wow. Well, first off, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
That goes without even saying, but I have to say it. And then your service and what it gives to all of us that are out there, that we need to remember everything that we have, the freedom to do press, the freedom to speak, the freedom to do everything. When you come ask me, it's all about those who served. And so, Tom, I'm glad you're with us. Can you tell us a little bit about your service? It says Navy here, Navy Chief.
Yep.
And that had to be an experience. So I don't even know where to start except to look at you and say, you know exactly what you're doing. Could you lead us down your journey as serving as a Navy Chief?
And,
Sure.
And my question too is, do you have other people in your family who serve that help to prompt you in any way?
I started out, like I said, in 92. My dad was a lieutenant during the Cuban Missile on a USS Essex.
Okay.
His big sort of claim to serve was the Cuban Missile blockade. So he was on an aircraft carrier, preventing the missiles from getting to Cuba.
Wow.
And then my Uncle Chuck was my mom's brother, and he was a Navy lieutenant. He was a riverine officer. He had a patrol boat in Vietnam. So a lot of family history. My son is now in the Navy. He's followed into my footsteps.
Wow.
So I started out, and I was a hospital corpsman. So Navy can be pretty confusing because most other services have very specific, private, corporal, sergeant, and up. Navy is all about they throw the job into their rank. So I was a chief hospital corpsman at HMC when I retired.
Okay. Got it. You're correct. I didn't know that either. So the Navy is one that I look and I go, well, what was the rank? And so then I understand, okay, it is different when it comes to the Navy as far as the other branches. So I'm glad that you pointed that out there because you said it better than I could. So you dealt with medic. Did you have the name Doc? Did they?
I did. Yeah. I spent most of my career with the Marines, and that's just, they called us Doc.
Yes, I assumed definitely that you were the one that they called Doc for sure. So as a Navy chief, for how many years were you in, Tom?
24.
24 years. That's a very long time. So thank you for what you've done. I can imagine.
I did want to ask him this. Another person who we're going to have on the show, I had said to them, you know, they said, well, why would you want me on the show? And I said, because anyone who's been in the service for dozens of years, right? Anyone who can stick with anything for dozens of years, I mean, you deserve a prize for that. But to serve your country for that long is like, people are in all of that. And so I just wondered if for you, like, had you always planned on going and staying?
No, I when I first joined, it was just I was trying to find what direction to go in with my life. I'd been out to Colorado for about 4 years, and my ventures out there did not go very well, and so I was kind of starting over. And so yeah, the Navy was just a good place to start, and I met my wife right at the get-go, and we're still, been together all these years, but we started a family, and that just kind of kept me going past my first enlistment. And then after I'd done several, 2 or 3 enlistments, I just, I loved it and had no intention of ever leaving. But 24 was a good year. 24 years was a good run for me.
Yeah, 24 is my favorite number. It's literally right there. My son's uniform number, you name it. It means together forever. So 24 in my life is an excellent number. So I love that, Tom. In your 24 years that you've just mentioned, I can only imagine what you have done and those you've saved, or those that you've been around that, there are stories that a lot of people maybe in schools or around, sitting around talking, and they don't get a lot of the real information. So we're very organic here, and it's a very open conversation as to what you want to discuss, not us. So as far as being in the Navy, did you deploy as well?
Many times.
Yeah, I knew
Many
the
times.
answer. I was just not going to answer for you. How many times do you think that you deployed?
7 significant deployments that were 6 months or more.
Wow. Okay. All right. And is there one deployment over the other that is one for you that is either in a positive way or in a different way that is the story that sticks with you?
Oh, it's hard to pick. Probably the one that was the most memorable to me. I mean, they're all memorable, but the one that was most impactful in my life and everything was my deployment to Afghanistan. So I went with I was with the Marine unit. I went with the 24th MU, a Marine Expeditionary Unit, and we were there for about 8 months. And it was I'd seen combat and things in other times, but that was by far the longest stretch. I was there without any it was just the longest deployment that I'd had in that kind of situation where you don't really have any, you're not moving from place to place. That's what the Navy does. We move from place to place. But in this particular instance with the Marines, there was no ships involved. We just flew there, and we were in Kandahar for 8 months.
I was about to say how long, 8 months. What's interesting, Tom, is when I talk to people, I'll use my own to ask you this question. Like my kid, Sergeant Two-Step, was in Iraq for about 18 months. But it was because of some things going on, which were stop loss, stop pay, a lot of things that were happening. And a lot of people got literally stuck over in other countries. Do you remember that time period?
I do.
Were you serving then?
I was.
You were.
And I know the Army, they're kind of marathon runners. And when they're in Afghanistan, the Marines, we did 6 to 8 months. And I knew when I was there, there were some soldiers who were there who'd been there before we got there and was still there when we left. And just got to give them all credit because they didn't have any control over that. But I think their standard deployment was about a year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because talking to you and after interviewing a few that are either Navy, Marines in other units, other branches, I hear 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. And the only branch that I'm hearing is a year plus is Army. Interesting.
That was my experience there.
Well, that's good to know.
Being with the Marines, we didn't spend a lot of time. A lot of my deployments, we didn't spend a lot of time around the Army. So my first real exposure to them outside the country was in Afghanistan. And like I said, they were the marathon runners of that campaign. They were there for a long time.
I'm familiar with the Iraq and Afghanistan deployments because of the time period that I just mentioned. You probably know the time period of the stop loss, stop pay. That is a time period I'm very familiar with. As far as you and being in the military, and you look great, by the way.
Oh, appreciate it.
I love to hear true stories that will shed, there's a lot of different opinions out there, but I, for one, like to highlight that no matter if a base or a location or a person in a unit or in the world, let's put it like that, is not good or they're bad, it does not mean that the whole branch, the whole military, and those that are serving right now are not good. I hate that part because I still want to support. My issue is with my son being gone as a Gold Star mom, I don't fit in anymore. So it's like, where's my unit? Where are the veterans? Like, where am I supposed to go? So that's a weird one. And I can speak for a few others too. We usually if we find a veteran, you find out we hold on really tight because we're like, you're like our lifeline, literally. Mm-hmm. So I've always wanted to do a program where I connect a veteran to a family. And I've already seen this happen actually, where not only did it help the veteran, but it also helped the family. So I'm like, that's on my list still. Like, I would love to do that. It's almost like a big brother, big sister program that's out there. But I can tell you from personal experience that anytime I hear from a veteran, it makes me go, oh, it's home. It feels like home. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you for being on the show. And now I'm going to let you speak. Oh, you've got someone here saying thank you for your service, Tom.
Yeah, Sergeant. I can't see
that.
It tells you that is.
Sergeant Bowman. Thank you, Sergeant.
Yeah. And so, Tom, let's get into more about what you want to talk about. Let's talk about you and your service and what you're doing, and then we'll get into what is behind you too.
Okay. So I think big thing I'm passionate about. So currently in my life, once I retired, I was retired for 2 years, and I realized that the beginning of retirement is glorious. First 6 months are amazing. And then it just gets really boring, especially after being in the military for a long time. You always in the middle of things going on, and to go from that to just sitting around trying to figure out what to do was kind of a non-starter for me. So I'm now a nurse. I went and I'm an ER nurse. And so my big thing is trying to talk, is recruiting. I'm always talking to the young nurses. Most of them are women, but there's quite a few men as well. I'm always talking to them because they're talking about, where they want to go, what they want to do. They're trying to figure out what specialty they want to get into. And I'm always plugging away, trying to talk them in and go talk to an officer recruiter and see about becoming, getting a commission and supporting, whether it be, I'm partial to the Navy, biased that way, but any service, just, going in there. And so that just has to do with my profession now. But, whenever I talk to, my two older kids, they're in their 30s, but I do have a late life surprise child. She's 16. And so I'm talking to her friends about all, because I do, they come over all the time and they're talking about what they want to do. And, I don't try and plug the military too much because some parents won't be so jazzed about that idea, but just when they ask me about it, because she's always talking about what I did. Jessica was very young, even when I retired. but I love talking about it. I love, anyone who's interested, I'll sit there and talk about it. I loved my Navy service. Obviously, like I said, it was not my first choice. It was sort of a transitional thing that ended up being my entire, my life career. I know that, my son is active duty now, and he talks to me about how they're having a hard time recruiting. They're having a hard time getting people in. And all I can say is that there is risk with anything, with this particular career, whether it be any of the services. There's always risk, but the adventure and the things that you can experience in the military, peacetime or wartime, are unparalleled. You can't find them anywhere else, especially early in your life. Most people are starting out low, their incomes are, low or moderate. They don't have a lot of money to get out and do a lot of the things that we all would love to do early in life, see the places we want to see. And the military offers a lot of that. You don't always get to choose it where you're going, but you do get to see parts of the world that most people just never see. I always tell people, I've been all over the world, and I've seen a lot of the places that most people don't want to see. But really, like you go to Europe, you see places, you go to ports in Europe that are not cruise ship destinations, but you see the real, the real Italy and the real.
They haven't been tainted and commercialized.
Yeah, exactly. And then in Africa, I've been all over Africa, both east and west coasts. And these are a lot of places that people don't choose to go to, but they're very important places to see.
We're seeing.
Yeah, and I've made some contacts that I still keep in touch with in some places. I've been all over the Middle East on various deployments, and that was not a lot of that was not so much fun, but some places were really fantastic. I did even see some spots in the Middle East that were fantastic. Jordan, I spent a lot of time in Jordan, and it was glorious. So I think that's my biggest message now for young folks out there who are looking for a career. The beauty of the military is there's so many things you can do. There's so many places that they can take you. And you can choose to start out and just do 4 years, or you can spend a lifetime there and make a career of it. And that's I think that's my biggest thing, is just encouraging people to explore it, or at least think about it. Open your mind to it. That was part
Tom,
of my.
Did you say late life child?
Yeah. So
I thought that's what you said.
yeah. So my first two were born when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And my last one, Jessica, she was born when I was 40. And we would not, the other two kids were in high school. So poor Jessica actually had two sets of parents, me and my wife, and then her older brother and sister, who were both high school kids at the time.
Yeah. I love it. I have one of those too. So when you said that, I was like, interesting. I'll never forget that. So you said you have two sons. Are they both in the military?
No. So I have two daughters and one son. And so, no, the only one of my children that's in the military is my son. Either one of my daughters really. My oldest daughter chose a different path, that she had no interest in military. And my youngest daughter right now, she's still figuring out what she wants to be. She has college aspirations, which we're very excited about. But my son, he followed me in to the military. He is now a hospital corpsman, doing a lot of the same things that I used to do. He's with the Marines right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
so he went into the Navy?
What's that?
Yeah.
He did go into the Navy like you, and now he's working with the Marines.
The Marines, yeah. So the Marines, some people, most military folks know, but a lot of people don't know that the Marines don't have their own medical branch. And so the Navy supplies all, the medics to the Marines, along with some other things, the religious personnel and some supply things. But yeah, so I spent, as a Navy corpsman, I spent the the bulk of my career with the Marines.
So you're like embedded with them the whole time. You go everywhere so it's, I don't say you are a Marine, but you spend more time.
I spend a lot more time.
All of your time with them.
Yeah, I have quite a few years of sea time, and all of it was as an embarked troop on the ships with the Marines. I was always with the Marines. In my whole 24 years, I was never ship's crew. I was always embarked troops.
What kind of ship, Tom?
So the Marines use the amphibious. There's a whole branch of Navy surface ships called the amphibious fleet, which is basically dedicated to moving around the Marines. Marine aircraft, Marine, landing craft, and troops.
So that's what Josh did. My son, he was amphibian, AAV.
Yeah. So he would have been, so like, that's, AAVs are really interesting vehicles.
Interesting people that ride them.
But it's all about, the whole thing with the Marines is all about coming from the sea and landing ashore, quick, fast, hard missions, and then leaving. That's what the Marines do. We establish the beachhead.
Yeah.
With the
Usually
Marines.
Get in first and get out.
That's exactly right. And
That's been my experience.
So how many Navy corpsmen are there per? So like there's a tree over there called Sadness at Sea. And that particular tank was taken out without going into gory detail. They never made it home.
Yeah.
Okay. And 9 of the young men are over on that tree. But one of them is a Navy corpsman. So would each tank have had a corpsman?
So if you're talking like an AAV, like a troop, something, there's some Marines had LAVs and AAVs were the two that were that they were using when I was in. And so it's probably like a fire team or a squad. So there's usually like a corpsman for a squad. So maybe 1 or 2, depending on how many.
And as you mentioned, medic. So the medic part of it is an extremely important part too. So for the Marines unit, that's mainly what you were doing, right? Was a lot of the medic work.
That's what I'm
Exactly.
wondering, how many medics you have per.
How many medics per unit?
So it varies. The BLT or the battalion landing teams, which is the ground infantry, the Marine infantry, they have a lot more corpsmen than most medics, or I'll just use the word corpsman because that's what I'm familiar with. But they have more than most, assigned to the smallest fire team all the way up. And I was most of my time I was with logistics units. So when I deployed with the Marine Expeditionary Units, I was with their combat logistics battalions, and so we rolled a little bit differently. We had a core group of corpsmen, and that was assigned out. So as we went out and did launched missions, you'd select or rotate corpsmen onto these missions. So it really varies. The Marine Air Wing, which is the third, they have the combat logistics battalion, the Air Wing, and the battalion landing team. So it's the infantry, the air, and the logistics support. And so they all roll a bit differently. Like a lot of the air crews don't have corpsmen dedicated to them.
Yeah, they're all different working, moving parts, literally.
It seemed like a silly question.
Infantry, infantry to air to sea, literally, in order to get the job done. But as far as in your field, in the medic field, I can imagine, people they look at movies and then they are like, oh, that's what happens when you go and you serve, or you're a doc, like your doc, serving there in the military. And so now you're working in a hospital. So basically you've gone from serving and there's lives that have been taken to saving lives the whole time. So you have been a person in not only your service, which I consider to be saving lives, not only by your service, but by the MOS, which is the position that you are in as a medic. So as a medic, I have a question here.
Okay.
Being in the Navy and being with the units, like you mentioned, Marines, and being overseas, you were pretty much doing everything a doctor would have to do in order to save someone and get them as quick as you could. You didn't say, hey, I need a doctor. It was on you, correct?
It was, yeah. So towards basically the last 10 years of my career, I was what's called in the Navy an independent duty corpsman. So I had gone to a year-long school that where I was trained to essentially operate independent of a doctor. It was focused primarily on shipboard, because a lot of the smaller ships are not big enough to warrant having a medical officer or a doctor on board. So they have people like me that they train up. And it's basically, we had this scope of practice like a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant. But we saw all the sick call, we did all the minor procedures, we did all that stuff on ships. And then in Afghanistan, we did a lot of I did a lot of casualty reception and treatment, and had to do, a lot of procedures that, I did a lot of things as a Navy corpsman that I can't even do as a nurse.
Well,
I do a
that's
lot
what I
of-
was going to get to is I bet you were doing things that literally there's no way that hospital would have you doing, but
Yeah,
it was so you
there's-
could save lives.
Yeah, there's a lot. So that's the, the Navy, I was always, like I said, I'm very biased to the Navy, but I was always just amazed, even from, in 92, when I went through the things they were teaching us to do in just our most basic school, like suturing, that's something a nurse can't do. Like you have to be a physician's assistant or a nurse practitioner at the bare minimum to do that now. Suturing and just all these things that we, intubating and all these things they teach at the most basic school, and it just goes up from there. It was really, it was amazing. You take, young folks that, high school education or that level, and then you put this incredible amount of training, and then you put them out there with this incredible responsibility. And I was just honored. I've been very fortunate, and I worked with just some of the most amazing people. Again, these people were young, and they had, grown up in their home, went to high school, joined the military, and they had this basic training. And I just was, especially in my Afghanistan tour, I was just absolutely honored. I had the best crew of. I was a first-class petty officer at the time, so I was the lead of the, there was a chief that worked with me. He was my boss at the time, but he was in Kandahar, and I was at a totally different area, on a British base called Camp Bastion. And I was the senior medical representative for America. Like there were no American doctors there. It was a British base, and it was British doctors, but I was receiving all the U.S. casualties and. But that's the kind of thing. And I was running a crew of, young guys. I think the oldest guy that worked for me was 22. And I was in my late 30s at the time. So,
So were you like sending people out then? Like the planes would come, helicopters would come in?
Yep. I'd have to send guys out on the convoys and then whenever the birds would come bring casualties in, I was the first guy that they saw. I was the first guy that was there when they came off the helicopters. And
that had to be tough too. Just that whole part of, well, obviously in a working mode, you do what you need to do to make sure that everyone's okay and safe. But even the coming out of that, did you find it difficult to transition from dealing with that into the world?
That was my question.
While I was there, like I said, you focus on your people, and like when I was there, you'd go and you do it, and sometimes I remember 36-hour days or longer where you never get a chance to sleep. You're just going. And so there, once you sleep a lot when you can, and I spent a lot of time because I was not on some things I went out, but most of the time I was sending my guys out, because I was running it, I was running the show there. And I'd have to, help center them when they got back because they saw some pretty horrible stuff. And I'd have to help center them, which that helped center me. Me helping them kept me focused. The hardest transition I had was when I came back. And I think that's the common story for the vast majority of people who've been into a place like Afghanistan or Iraq or.
So how do you think we could fix that? Like there needs to be, because there isn't a transition. It was, you were practically a doctor.
Yeah.
And then you came back and now you're not even allowed to stitch.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so
that's kind of a different story. I had to do a lot of
whole
unlearning and relearning with the nurse thing. But when I came back, so they had their mind at the time it was real controversial. When we left, we flew out and we stopped at a place and stayed there for a week. And it was specifically to kind of decompress and talk about stuff.
for a week.
But rather than just getting on a plane and flying home and dropping you off. And they had this focus thing. and it was in Kazakhstan, at Manas Air Base, I think it was. But we stopped there for a while, and we stayed there, and they had people talking to us, and they had a lot of things to kind of help us figure out to transition and start communicating with our families again. I know, the communication, the availability of communication was much better. And then we got back, we did, that was it. We kind of got back, and with the Marines, they bring all these groups together and they form this unit that trains for a while, and then we deploy together, and then we come back and we do, basically this, we do this, debrief and then turn in all our gear, and then everyone splits up. That's just kind of I think that's unique to the Marines. They bring people together for a specific mission, train them, and then when it's done, they all go back to their parent units. So I have to say, when I got back, I didn't really realize it, but
So where do you go then? Where does the Navy Corpsman go?
The Navy, we go back to our parent, like we're assigned to Marine units, we came back, and there was some transition time, and I think, like a lot of people, I had a hard time figuring out how I fit back in with stuff. I had a lot of hypervigilance where I was very aware of what was going around me all the time. I had some difficulty sleeping. I had periods of time where my family couldn't approach me. Like, anyone that woke me up was in danger. Like, I was violent. I was swinging, not all the time, but sometimes, especially when I was in a deep sleep and anything came up. And I know one time, I think it was my wife tried to wake me up, and I think I swung at her. It didn't hit her, but it was just reflex. It took a long time for me to kind of come down from that. I had to go get some counseling, and to this day, I'm still a lot more, aware of what's going around me than I think most people are.
And I've heard some veterans, even to this day, they will look under their car before they get in it. Like, they'll still do that.
I'm sure there are. I'm just really, like, my big thing right now is crowds. I don't like being in crowded places. It took me a long time to be able to go to restaurants where people were sitting in close proximity to me and I couldn't keep an eye on them. But I think there's a lot of stuff out there that's available. A lot of people, there is still, at least when I was there was still a lot of stigma on talking to people.
Right. And it's gotten better. So, Tom, I have a question just based off of a couple of other families that I know what's happening with them. So you were active duty serving as a medic. Are you familiar with there being contractors that are not actually active duty, but they bring them in as medic, as contractors for the military? Did you ever encounter that?
No, I never did encounter that. We encountered a lot of contractors that came over. Usually they were some sort of maintenance people for, like, the vehicles, like for Oshkosh, for the 7 tons. There were a lot of people that came in as contractors, logistics folks that were handling logistical things that weren't part of the normal military chains. But I never ran into medical contractors. I never saw that.
Yeah, I never heard of that.
Yeah. There's actually 2 cases where definitely there was a contractor is what happened instead of an active duty medic. And so that's a whole different show. But as far as you mentioned something that clued into me, and mine, he's talking about Army in there. There's Jimmy. Hey, shout out to you. Service of his brother. Nice to see you, Jim. We have a lot of our audience that literally will send in either questions or comments. So y'all be sure to do that. I'm pulling up the ones that I catch as I see them. I just saw Jim and his brother. He's talking about being in the Army. So I'm trying to catch the comments too. But did you also ever have to experience being a casualty officer who had to encounter a family?
No. And that is a hard job. A lot of people who get that they're just told they're going to be it's called a CACO, Casualty Assistant Call Officer. And they're not, no one raises their hand for that job. You're told you're going to do it. That is a very, very hard thing. I've known people who've had to do it. Just being the first person in the door to tell a family about their loss is, I just can't even fathom it. I had a few people that, just everyone that's been over there knows somebody who didn't make it back. And, my unit was no different. We had folks, and I had, luckily none of my corpsmen, all my corpsmen made it back. But there were several of them who had a lot of, carried a lot of baggage for things that they experienced while they were out there. And they're, having to take care of their friends while their friends passed. And I remember helping them, even when we got back, I've kept in touch with some of these people for a while. And,
That's good.
when they got back, they had a hard time, wrestling with it. When you're over there and it's your day-to-day life, it's when you come back and it's all sort of, you can stand, you're not in danger anymore. You can stand back and look at what happened to you and really think it through. And that a lot of this stuff, like I said, we were all fine. We were over there. We were with each other. There's camaraderie. We had each other's backs. But when you get over, you get back and the unit disbands, and that support network that was there with you through the whole thing goes their own way.
Right.
I've had to help with that. And that wasn't like a casualty assistance, but it was helping them deal with and so that in itself was difficult because we had to talk about it. And I think that's the biggest thing, kind of going back to this is you got to talk about it. You can't hold it inside. You can't, mull on it. You can't say, why did I did I get back and why didn't they? You just can't do that.
That is a big problem.
That's a big problem. A lot of people have survivor's guilt.
Yes. I can tell you, this is an interesting, you mentioned that a lot of them wouldn't choose it. I do know that the CAO that came to me, not the first one, he literally volunteered to do it, thinking that he was getting time off, not understanding the full scope of what was about to happen. Wow. Yeah. And I ended up really choose it more of a caretaker. So the first one that came to my home, this is we're not going to do about me, but I'm just giving examples for people out there. It does happen like you see in the movies. They do come to your door. They come with a chaplain. I was sitting in the corner of the couch saying, this is not happening to me. The female that came to my door had just had a baby, maybe 6 weeks prior, just back on the job, and they gave her that assignment. She was, I'm aware of postpartum depression, and I had been to nursing school, and I was definitely not okay. But watching her and trying to let me figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, because the military moves really fast. It's like, you got to go and you make this decision and this, you can't stop. And so she could not function. Literally. I literally looked at her and said, you need to go home to your child, the baby. And she said she didn't think she'd ever serve a day again. And I don't know if she did. And then there was another one, the gentleman that thought he was getting time off. Literally got a hold of me later and said, there's a reason he went away. He ended up going and saying, no, I'll deploy. And then he ended up coming back home early. And he said it was because of dealing with, he didn't understand and he wasn't prepared or trained for going to someone's home and dealing with what happens, because a line of duty investigation, no matter how anyone is not home, it doesn't matter if they're active duty. We're talking active duty. Yeah. If they don't come home, the military is involved in a process, and that is a long process that they have to do on their time. And it's a line of duty investigation. And no matter what, as a family or as the assistance officer, they're attached to you that whole time. And so I'm also an empath. So I found myself not getting help. I was worrying and helping the other people. So I was like, wait, this is not working for me. I have got to speak up. And I actually did speak up. And I ended up with the third casualty assistance officer being someone that was more mature, wiser, who could actually function and handle it. But, that was my own personal experience. I was like, listen, you've got to go. And then the other was the casualty officers. The one thing that I didn't know about, Tom, and I want to see if you know about this. Riding on airplanes, not a day in my life did I ever consider this. But when I went to meet my son when he was coming back, I went and met an airplane that was American Airlines that opened up the cargo area, and I did get sick. I fell out, and I was like, oh my God, they literally bring them on the commercial airlines. I never knew this. And I thought, how many airplanes have I been on that have had someone?
Well, I think they usually announce it.
Not always,
Because
because
you have-
now I
you-
ask.
Yeah,
No.
because a lot of times I've seen what they'll announce it, and then somebody will on the plane will salute, or I don't know if that's always. but I've just
There's
seen
no
this happen.
policy for that. I can tell you that.
It probably should be,
If
though.
there is someone flying that plane that used to be military or has a big heart, then I bet it happens. But typically, no, they're not going to just announce. We have
Wow.
Should,
someone
though.
flying with us. They're not going to just blurt. We have someone flying, because I never knew that I was flying on a plane commercial that had someone serving coming home. And that still bothers me to this day. When I get on an airplane, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, so you
just
talked
don't know.
about things that trigger. That's a
Yeah.
trigger for me.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
my
That's why
back
they don't
towards
tell
the
people.
restaurants. In restaurants,
Yeah.
I can't sit my back towards a door. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I just wondered if you knew that. Did you know that the commercial airlines were used also to come home?
I did not. When we were in Afghanistan, that's where I had my biggest experience with it. And we would fly them from Afghanistan to Landstuhl, Germany. And then my assumption was that they were getting on another military aircraft and flying from Landstuhl back to the United States. There was a whole process, and there was a time limit on it from the time that they were brought back to us. It was called a repatriation ceremony, and it was very solemn. My experience with it was very difficult because I was operating out of Camp Bastion, which was a British base. And for them, England was much closer. They would fly directly from Afghanistan right back to the UK. For us, there was that whole process of getting us sometimes to Qatar and sometimes back to Landstuhl. But we had to get them, go through the whole process and get them set. And then it was all very quiet. Like when they would shut down communications on the base because they didn't want names to get back to the United States before the family knew. And so that everything, all the communications would be, basically restricted. And we would, it was a solemn, it was always the British were doing a lot of this with us, helping us repatriate our fallen brothers and sisters back to the United States. And so they were fantastic. The Brits have a very, one thing I experienced when I was over there is they have a very different outlook. For us, it was heart-wrenching, and anyone who passes. But when they, being on Bastion, when they did it, they would celebrate it. They would talk about the accomplishments and all this, and it wasn't a happy thing, but it was not somber. And with us, we just tended not to talk about it. We just get them back, and I don't know. I shed a lot of tears at the back of a C-130. I'll tell you that. Putting a casket back on the plane to fly it back, but. The British would go and they would, they would talk and they would have sort of a celebration of life kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've had, their military has been around way longer than ours. And I just remember over there, they had regiments who were flying colors that, their grandfathers and their great-grandfathers and their great-great-grandfathers had served in that same unit. And they just had a lot of pride in service, and history.
It makes you wonder what their mental health is like. Like, do they have the same mental health crisis? Because they're definitely going into it differently. Yeah. Not like they're celebrating it, but it's like this honor. It sounds like
there's a thing of like.
I'd be curious to know what the mental health
I don't know.
situation is there.
It's a celebration of life. It's
a celebration of life, and
I meant in the long term, like when you transition, are they?
That would be a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Are they fighting other battles when they get home?
Yeah, that's definitely a whole different show. I think in any country, in any branch, any time that you have had to experience and witness lives being taken and saving lives, and this even goes for outside of the military. If you've witnessed and been around things where lives are being taken, you definitely have some things you have to deal with. It's not, and if you don't, then that's the kind of person I don't want to be around. I always say, if you're not a little messed up by it, or you don't have something that bothered you, then those are the ones that kind of scare me. I'm like, yeah, that's probably the person I'm staying away from, because it's normal, right? It's like, to me, it's very normal to be upset. It's very normal to have issues or things you need to deal with. To me, that's a normal situation. It scares me when someone else is like full on, just like that. To me is scary. It's a whole different situation for me. So I'm just speaking on personal experience. I'm going to go for the guy not in the chinos, not in his loafers, and not a carrot, like everything's great. I'm going to go towards the one that's like, nah, this is the truth. This is what really happened. I'm going to go. I'm going to find you, Tom. I'm coming to Tom.
So I did want to mention actually that one of the trees that is beside Tom is from Lima Company, and they had 23 people that Marines they lost in Iraq, but one of them actually was a Navy corpsman. I can't pick him out specifically. I
Tom,
know
we have a question for you, and it says, Tom, what would you advise giving to a new person that wants to join the Navy?
Can you repeat the question, please?
It says, what would you advise to a new person wanting to join the Navy?
Embrace it. I would say just embrace it, and it's an adventure. It's funny. The thing, especially, if you're right out of high school, the big thing that always you see all about on the movies, at boot camp. Everyone's always worried about boot camp and what am I going to go through. And I mean, that's the beginning of the adventure right there. Is you are who you are. You grow up, you go through high school, you have your personality, you dress a certain way, you have your man, and they take all that from you when you go there. I think so I went in 1992, and it was still pretty old school. We still had the old dungarees like they wore in World War II, the bell-bottom dungarees with the chambray shirts and the white hat, the Dixie Cup white hats. And you had to hand stencil your name onto everything.
Oh, wow.
But I remember that they walked in, I had long hair. I lived in Colorado, like I said before. I had long hair. I had hair halfway down my back, and I was very proud of that hair. And I showed up there with it. Like everybody was telling me, cut that hair before you go. And I was like, oh, hell no. Nope, not doing it. I'm taking this to the bitter end. And I just remember when they took it, you stand on yellow footprints in a line. You're not allowed to talk to anybody. And you step forward onto the next set of footprints and, go through this whole process. And then they take that was the big shocker, is they took you in, and they just shaved my hair, right down to the scalp. I was bald for the first time in my life. I mean, now I live that way, but back then it was quite a shock.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially with you having all that hair.
So that's
like
the big
this
thing.
Right here. There's a picture. Yeah, literally no hair. So,
yeah, it's all gone. I had one hair that was left. They missed it somehow, and it was about 3 inches long, and it had somehow just stuck to my scalp. And I hid that thing, and I kept it. And every day I would just sort of smooth it down to my scalp. In boot camp, it was my little rebellion thing. But the big thing, the advice I'd give is just be ready for that. My son went through about 10 years ago, and everything had changed. The big thing now, I think, is you have to be ready to give up your connections to people. Because when my son went through, that was a big thing. I had a friend who was a recruit commander there, and she was telling me that that's the biggest thing people have a hard time with there, is giving up their cell phone, giving up the ability to instantly text, instantly call, instantly Facebook or social media.
You didn't have that.
Yep, we didn't, and that was not a problem for us. There weren't any cell phones back in '92, at least not that one that anybody who was going to Navy enlisted boot camp would have.
Right.
So it was easy to, we didn't have anything to give up like that. But I guess for today's kids, be ready for that. Be ready for the fact that they are going to cut you off from all those people you're used to talking to, and it's not insurmountable. It's 2 months, and then you get all that back. But while you're there, you got to be ready to focus on what you're learning. They're taking everything that you identify as your, things that make you your personality traits. They're taking all of it. They're making everyone level on a level playing field. Everyone's the same haircut, same clothes, same, eating the same things at the chow hall. Everyone goes to bed at the same time. Everything. So that's not easy for a lot of folks to do today. So that would be my advice: is prepare for that temporary loss of contact with all your normal social supports. That can be challenging for some folks. So you need to, if it's a shock, then that's that much harder. So you prepare mentally for that.
Maybe practice and give up your phone.
Yeah, maybe just put it aside for, a few days at a time and just see how you survive without it.
Well, you realize how funny that sounds.
It sounds funny to me because
Right,
I'm
like,
56,
It's
but
a phone. Right?
it's
I mean,
to my daughter who's 16, it's practically an extension of her body. It's
Yeah. Well,
it's
I'm
next.
lucky. My 16-year-old, I can't get him to pick it up. So I'm actually blessed in that sense. I knew you were going to say that your 16-year-old being a girl, I bet probably that phone is literally an extension like you. I knew you were about to say that.
So
Sure.
I wonder if I don't know if she's watching or not, but Jessica, I'm sorry if you're watching.
Oh, we love her. We love you.
But so I think just the whole thing that is prepare for that, and then just embrace the adventure. There's so much to be experienced, and some people just love it. They fall in love with it once they're in. Other people, they have even people who just do 4 years and get out. They have stories for the rest of their lives that most people just can't even fathom. Right. Even just training they went through. Even if it's just most people have never been in a helicopter in their lives, and you're getting to fly around in a helicopter and do all kinds of cool things. Some people get to do like spy rigging where they're hanging under it on a rope. Some people jump out of airplanes. Just amazing things. So embrace the adventure. That's my advice. Embrace the adventure. And
right. And I also believe that there's certain people that are built for that, and then there's certain people who just aren't. And you can get out. So once you serve your time, you can realize that this may not be for me. But I truly believe, and it's based on my own experience again, that someone like my first son was a fighter through and through. He was built to where that was a natural decision. Now with my other one, it's not. It's literally. Yeah, I'm not going to get in trouble like you. You just said it like you're 16. But basically what I'm saying is different personalities and the different traits in each person. You're either built for it or you're not, because there's a lot that goes on along with the adventures that you're talking about. There's also the other side of it, and those that make it through like you did 24 years, that's incredible. And then, my journey is to make sure that everybody understands why they still have the freedoms that they do, because you took that 24 years to serve. That is a big deal. And educating people out there as to what it is and the positive sides, like you're talking about. There are a lot of positives that we can speak about so that today's individuals that are joining the military are not frightened by all of the horror stories or the TV or the social media or internet and things that are out there. So it's like you're going to get a lot of information overload these days because you can get informations everywhere, but you're not really going to get the true information. Well, there's OPSEC for one. So with security in place and information that can't go out, now with someone like you who served 24 years, you can now talk to us, and you've been talking about the positive side. So I like that. I like that we're talking about, yes, there is a side where you have to readjust. Yes, there are things that are not okay, that you're not okay with, but you're able to speak on the positive sides. And the reason I say this is because when I hear someone and listen, I've been that person who's extremely angry at the world. But when I hear others say, I hate the military now. I wish that, they never were around me in my life or something like that. And I have to back up and go, well, remember, there's still kids serving that could be just like your kid. So we can't turn our backs on the people that are serving. If you don't like what's going on in the world, then get involved in your community. But we can't turn our backs on the actual people that are serving for us. So that's a big thing about me.
Right, and that brings me to what I want to ask him before he has to go is, what
Okay.
made you decide then that it was time for you to volunteer? Because one of my sayings is strong, but I feel like it needs to be said for people is just because you made it home doesn't mean you stay at home. Like if you made it home, that means that there's more for you to do.
Yeah.
Planting yourself in your house is not and people who are service oriented, that's how your cup is filled.
Yeah.
And that's where I think sometimes, depression, PTSD then flares up because you're left with your own thoughts. So when did you decide, okay, now it's ready, I'm ready, I have time, or part of it's time, but
Yeah, I've always, I think with the day I decided I was ready to volunteer is the day I walked through your door. The Tree of Valor is unbelievably amazing. I walked in and just, I haven't seen anyone on these trees yet that I recognize, but just, I have a story and your son has, everyone has a story. We all have stories. And so many of them are only known to the people closest to them. But a place like this just allows people to see the successes, the failures, the people being remembered. But so many of these people here, gave everything. But so many of these people here served with honor and came back. And this is the beginning of their story. It just allows people to experience a little bit or sample a little bit of what they did. The pride that they had. They still have to this day. I'll be incredibly proud of my service till my last day on planet Earth. And I want to help everybody that's serving. I love it. Like I said, I'm a nurse. I'm an ER nurse by trade now. I'm only part-time with that. I do enjoy some of my time, my retirement time. So I don't work full-time anymore, but I still see people coming through. And I have a tattoo that I got. It's my Navy Chief's anchor on my arm. But so many people see that, and it just brings up, I get to hear a little of their stories. I've run into people from Korea and Vietnam, and they just see anything military, and they just love, and we do. And sometimes I get in a little trouble because I spend more time talking to that patient in their room than I really should, because I have other people I'm taking care of. But
I'm sure they appreciate it though.
Yeah, just this is just sharing people's stories that,
I'm glad you brought that up, because rather than asking Lori, I did have someone say to me recently, what are the trees? Are they Christmas trees? And who is that you're partnered with, Tracy? And no, they're not just a tree, and they're not just for Christmas. They're a lot more than that. So right behind you, what is the tree that you're sitting in front of now?
So when we print out his picture, this will be a tree that he's on. This is the Global War on Terror. All of these trees in this row are from that time period. Okay. So our goal is to actually make a tree for every operation in that 20 years, which I know that's a lofty goal, but all my goals are lofty at some point, and
we're a lot alike,
right? So they
will be done.
Having those veterans from that time period is imperative for me to make those trees.
Yes. So the Global War on Terrorism, you've got there behind you, and you're going to do each era is what you're going to try to do.
Well, there were so many operations in that 20 years.
Yeah.
So I really would love to have a tree when we have more space, or the actual conservatory. There'll be a tree.
Operation Iraqi Freedom. You have all of those.
Oh, there's a ton
under it's GWOT, Global War on Terrorism. There's several operations you're talking about. So
we're talking
lots and lots.
Well, I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Tom to do the correct answer, since we're not using. On how many operations under Global War on Terrorism? There's
my gosh, there's
I couldn't.
I want to say I have actually a list of them.
Every campaign, even if in Afghanistan, going to Afghanistan, the Global War on Terror, every major offense, claiming an area or moving forward, they all have their own names. Yeah. So there could be dozens or literally hundreds of operations, different, like mission names or operational names.
Right.
So
It is a lofty goal.
That's a lofty goal.
But the way we do it is, but as soon as someone says, like someone came into an event the other day and said, "Where's the Just Cause tree?" I had never heard of that. I had no idea what that was. And I think that's probably more of like what your dad may have actually been part of that. So I have to look it up now. I have to research exactly what that is, but that's how the trees come to life then, because someone says,
I love
"Do
that.
you have?"
The Persian Gulf era, Tom. Are you familiar with the Persian Gulf era?
Oh yeah.
What does that fall under?
So that would be Operation Iraqi Freedom, I believe.
Yes.
OIF. So that's the original. That's the first time we went in after Saddam Hussein.
Thank you. I needed that answer, literally. I'm not even kidding. And you said it exact, and I needed to hear that. I've been asked so many times, literally, why in the world does it say this? And I didn't get to pick it. This is all military. Why does it say that on your son's? My son's up there, everybody. I'm okay. So I'm like, I do want to talk. We all should talk. We all should say their names. So I'm perfectly fine with this. But on his stone, it says Persian Gulf era. And I've had so many people say to me, they got it wrong. They got it wrong. And I'm like, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. This is the military. You do not go in and tell them they got it wrong. It is under Operation Iraqi Freedom. But I've literally had even veterans who come back and question me and go, no, that would not be Persian Gulf era. I say, you know what? I'm a mother who was just running a military organization, and you are told what's going to happen. You are told where you're going. You are told what is going to be there. That's not the part you get to pick. So I was glad to see your answer be the correct answer. So I was just like this, hoping that you had the right answer for me. So you just helped me right there. You just literally helped me understand the different information that was coming at me. And then I'm glad that you brought up the trees, because those trees do stand for more than a season. They actually are the lives. And some of those trees are not about those who are gone. They're actually about
Which is the one behind us. Yeah, the green trees.
Literally. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that too, that this is actually a living, moving that can be at events. You're there in North Carolina, but the Tree of Valor can be at different events and then set up, like we'll set up for the Sergeant Two-Step events that we'll do, but we'll be honoring all. I have to put emphasis on that. We do honor all when it comes to the living, those who serve, and those who are gone. And that's where Lori comes in as far as...
Do you have to leave?
Yeah, I have to go soon.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we didn't keep you longer than.
That's okay.
Okay, I wanted to make sure we.
I'm watching right here. You're at 1 hour. I wanted to see how you'd like to sum up, Tom.
Well, it's an absolute honor to be to be on this podcast, and it's an honor to continue to serve the veterans and the members and the thoughts of military service here at the Tree of Valor. Again, I like to focus on positive things, and I just look for, if you're looking for adventure, the military is a great place to look. You're going to find it. Remember, adventure is not always fun and games. Adventure is sometimes adversity. Okay. But it's when you come out of it, I remember, I went through some really rough times in some of the places I've been, but when I come out, the people I knew and the things we did together are what comes to the surface. And it was an adventure. It was incredible. I've made some of the best friends in my life. Think about joining the military. If you're out there looking for something, that's a good place to hang your hat, at least for a little while.
You got it.
When you get out, think about volunteering somewhere.
What's that?
Right. I have a song for you, Tom. We always do at least one song that it is written by one of my other part of my family and another individual that I do a show with, and it's called Best of Us. And it is for someone like you that I would play. Lori, do you want to show any of the trees when I play it, or just play it?
No, you just play it.
Okay. It's called Best of Us, and I want to see what you think of this song. It is not out yet, Tom, so let's see what you think.
There's a crowd outside my window and they're gathered in the street. They're screaming and they're yelling in the name of peace. War never is the answer, but some battles must be fought. As long as we remember who it is that pays the cost. They are the best of us, those women and men, where angels fear to tread. They charge right in, over land or in the air, across the ocean or somewhere. They sacrifice it all for the rest of us. Nobility and honor are so rare these days. Next time you see a soldier, hope you take the time to say you're the best of us. There are two parents in the heartland waving goodbye to their child. Through the raining down of tears, there is pride in their smile. And the countless single parents raising children on their own, short on money, short on time, trying to keep this house a home. They are the best of us, those women and men in cities, farms and towns. They are family and friends. Every night they say a prayer for someone fighting God knows where. They sacrifice it all for the rest of us. Nobility and honor are so rare these days. Next time you see a soldier, hope you take the time to say you're the best of us. Oh, you are the best of us. Nobility and honor are so rare these days.
Okay.
Tom, I know that you're saying that you all couldn't hear it, but everyone else they're able to hear it. So I don't know why, but in the gallery, when you're on your iPad and
Yeah,
you
we
can't
can't
hear
hear
that song, it happens every time you're on your
It
iPad.
does.
But I
Yeah, we
will
never
send
hear
the
it.
song so that Tom gets to hear it. It's called Best of Us. And
Okay.
it's saying that you're the best of us, nobility and honor. And it is a wonderful song. So everyone
That's
else
beautiful.
got to hear it. So you'll be able to go
Yes.
back. I did
You'll
cut
be
it
able to go
short.
back and we'll be able to show it.
I'm excited to hear it.
I'm
You'll
going to
be
go
able
lock the
to
door.
hear it. You'll see the both of you going, I can't hear it. And that, I'm like, it's okay.
Right.
It's playing.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
your
Tom.
service too.
We'll see you
Thank you for
Friday.
everything so much. I love it, Lori. There in the gallery. I wonder if when you're on your phone or I don't know what it is, like you.
I don't know.
There's only
I have
a
to
few
lock the door
things.
behind him, so I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, they can look at the trees over here and I will give them the information. We are about to do another show here at 9 p.m. We will be doing another show with our music reviews. So if you're tuned in right now, stay tuned. We do have Christian Rochelle coming in at 9 p.m. tonight to do some music reviews on Leaf Shively and Kirk House, both tonight, right here on Patriots Inside the Wire Productions, but it's Two Step Tribe. We will be doing this on, and shout out to 107.5 The Swamp and Texas Brew Radio. So for you out there watching, we thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us. Lori is back. She's with the Tree of Valor. I love the trees, Lori. I loved meeting Tom. We got to figure out your audio. And so
Yeah, I never, it just doesn't, there's
The
not
reason
even a
I'm
place to
doing
mute
this
it.
is because everybody else in the world and you going back will be able to hear it. So next time you can just smile and go, oh, it's playing. I just can't hear it.
Well, I keep thinking maybe you didn't start it yet, right?
Oh,
So
no. No. And
I
then
just
I
kept
have
see you bebopping. So I
that's
don't, I'm like,
the
well, it
only
must
reason
have
I was
started.
doing that is so you would know, yeah, it's playing. So I look like a silly person over here, like dancing.
So
No, I really wanted him to hear that song. It's a really good one. But, you always get my songs literally before anybody else.
I can play it for him on Friday when he comes back
Oh, there you go.
to
Yeah.
volunteer.
And this episode, literally, you're going to hear a lot, 3/4 of the song played. So you'll be able to hear it as well with the segment. So it'll be on you'll be able to share it all over and he'll be able to see it. And then you'll see the both of you going, we can't hear it. I love that part. But I also like Lori that he spoke about the trees. So I really was going to do that tonight. I want to bring up more about the trees and what they are. Where do
It
you
was so
actually-
organic. We don't.
No, and
prep
I
any of
don't
this.
at all with anyone.
So
You know that.
I didn't expect him to say that.
Nothing is scripted for anyone paying attention to us over here. It's about real life, truth telling, and taking care of people and taking care of the community. That is what we're here for. And so organically, what comes out is what's going to be on the show. So that
But
is
it's
what you
like-
get is the truth.
It's like we're planting a forest here. And I need people to understand that, this is growing and it will grow into something else real in the future.
Well,
So
that it is
these
real. When
tree-
you have
right.
veterans, you've had veterans literally. This is the third veteran that has walked in, ended up on the show, and has said those trees actually made a difference in their lives. So to me, even just one person, that's how we met. We actually met because of the Tree of Valor. So you never know how you're going to be needed or where you're going to be needed. But the Tree of Valor is not just a Christmas tree. It is not just a photo that's there, but the pictures that are there. If you want to show, what do you have Adams on? Is it on the Sergeant
Let me
two-step?
take you over here. Hold on 1 second.
We're doing this for a reason. We're going to give you some information.
Oh, my finger's in the way. This is bad. Okay, so Adam is right here.
Oh yeah, you have to go down. There he is. So, and what do you call this tree?
This is called Heroes We Lost.
Okay.
Certain trees are specific to certain things, and other ones are not. Like this is Extortion 17. So everybody on that tree, the whole way around, that was from one, except for this young man. I'm still trying to find his family. He actually, I think I talked about this the other week, but he actually doesn't belong on this tree.
Do you know his name?
Yes, his name is Daniel Patrone. I'm not exactly sure if that's if I'm saying it correctly.
Does it say his rank?
Let me see if I'm not sure.
Maybe someone out there who's watching will know who he is.
So I did find his mom on Facebook, but she hasn't friended me back yet. But this is the crazy part of this tree. So I don't know if I told this story before, but it's a beautiful story. We discovered that Lexi is picking these trees out. She goes up and does the tree of the day. She's picking the trees a lot of times based on the fact that someone's missing from the tree, unbeknownst to me. So this particular tree, yes, and she's nonverbal. She's in a wheelchair, so she's not going on my phone and scrolling and seeing these things, right? So she picked this tree when we used to have it as a Purple Heart tree, but I didn't know what she was doing at the time.
Then she picked this I was showing earlier.
Yes,
there she is. That is Lexi with Tom that I was showing.
So then she picked this. She picked this tree as a tree of the day, and we went through the whole tree meticulously. Nobody was missing. But when I went on my phone, where I had the pictures, and I was going back and forth, and I was saying their names and finding their pictures, when I said Daniel's name. Here, he died on the same day in Afghanistan as the rest of them. but his was from a completely different incident. It was from an IED.
Yeah.
So he actually doesn't belong in this extortion 1-7 tree. But when I said his name out loud, Lexi, who is nonverbal, and her nurse was here as evidence of this, she about jumped out of the wheelchair, started like yelling, like trying to talk to somebody, but not looking at myself or Miss Val. It was kind of wild. And nothing for nothing. We just said to her, we said, "Is Daniel here?" And she said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And so we made his picture. Then physically, we have a printer. We made his picture, and we have a tree that has, Iraq, Afghanistan tree also, with a lot more pictures to put on there clearly. But he really belonged on that tree, and she insisted he belonged here. And I thought, you know what? Maybe
Because
she knew something I don't.
He died on that same
He
time,
did,
right?
but maybe he has a friend on that tree, and maybe there's a reason that he wants to be on this tree. And so I'm not one to argue with the saints.
No.
So
No, I love it. And I'm glad that we got to go over that too, because I wanted to bring that up of what it is. And the part of the reason I'm bringing it up is because the Sergeant Two-Step Foundation, in working with Two-Step Tribe, in working with Tree of Valor, the CMAs have now allowed a lane where there will be the Sergeant Two-Step Award, literally. So the Sergeant Two-Step Award will be given out in October through different artists. You know me in the lane of like songwriting and etc. that I was keeping quiet. But the thing that people do not know is that Sergeant Two-Step, my kid, also did the same thing. And I need to find his CD. He has one where he's rapping, but he was really big into country music. And so and you don't have to be in the military, but somebody who's out there, either first responder, military, or you're doing community work, you're in that community and you're making a difference humanitarian wise, will now be given the Sergeant Two-Step Award. And that is in October at the CMAs. And prior to that, September is Gold Star Families Day. On September 27th in Texas, we will have the first concert to honor all. And this is not about fallen. This is not just about Gold Star. This is about recognizing and remembering and bringing some of these Gold Star families there and bringing the awareness that this day even exists. A lot of people have no clue what it even is. So this concert that the CMA and Uncle Rhino and the Two-Step Tribe is putting together before the CMA, I'll have a phone call tomorrow with Miss Mary from the CMAs to discuss the location and the lineup for this concert, the Sergeant Two-Step
Music. So exciting for you.
Yes. And so, well, it's not just for me. So I have to keep saying this. This is not just for me. This is an award that will go to someone. So if you have someone out there that you want to submit, they can be an artist that's singing, songwriting, or someone in the community that's doing something and making a difference. This year we have a couple of nominations already. So that's going to be the exciting part. And then going to the concert will be, we are honoring everyone, but we're also bringing awareness about a day that no one even knew existed, and trying to bring in one room these families. So, and then you'll get to see the Tree of Valor in real life. You'll get to experience that setup, and we'll have some of those set up. And she'll bring these, anything to do with Sergeant Two-Step. I am not the person you want to call to do the decorating. I can, I just am not.
I don't decorate though. I don't decorate.
Well, tribute setup, I can volunteer and help, but I'm not the person you want to call to do that.
Right.
That's Lori. So that is why it's
her team.
Smart. Yes, you need to call Lori on that part, because they're doing a lot of work. And you were just out in the field yesterday all day too.
We did the Winston-Salem Dash opening night. That was very exciting. Lexi loves baseball, so it was very exciting to her that her trees were, it was Veterans Night. So we took trees for that. And one of our team members had this brilliant idea. She's like, we should take baseball players who served. So Scott, my husband, jumped right on board with that. And we had We just started this part of it, but it was pretty neat to see it, starting as these just little seeds. We had the very first, I want to say probably the oldest veteran that we had seen. He was in the Civil War, and he was the first president of the National League in baseball, which we just thought that was neat. But we had World War I veterans who were baseball players, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, Vietnam, and we actually had the only one we found from the Global War on Terror was a man named Stephen Reich. I think that's how you say his name. And he was an amazing soldier that we lost in Operation Red Wing. That was one of the biggest losses for our military since Vietnam, if not before that. I think there were 16 of them. Mm-hmm. And so we made a special tree just for him. We actually put everybody on that tree from the Operation Red Wing site.
A CMA artist. Now we get to do one that's for the artist.
That would be great.
Yeah, so we'll do a CMA artist tree and then one that's the Sergeant two-step. But the Gold Star families, we'll have to come up with that. So I'm leaving that in your hands.
Okay.
So because that is on Gold Star Family Day, which is September 27th in Texas here. So you can go to our website, patriotsinsidethewire.com, or the Tree of Valor. You can go to the Tree of Valor and find Lori and look her up for information, and patriotsinsidethewire.com to get more. We are going to sign out now, Lori. It's been another great episode. Next week, tune in. Here soon, we will have Ty, who's serving active duty, who is about to leave. So we want to get his episode in. And that is on the 23rd. Mm-hmm. So before that, we've got our other episodes. So tune in with us, Lori, at the Tree of Valor, and myself with Patriots Inside the Wire, your combination team coming at you with several concert series, events, and music in abundance, and setting up to honor and take part in the community. So we thank you for joining us, and we're going to close out now. What would you like to close out with, Lori?
We see you.
I like that. We see you.
We see you.
And we hear you too. So I could hear tonight. I love it. I'm not going to do our normal outro. I'm just going to say good night to everyone out there. Thank you for tuning in to Patriots Inside the Wire and the Tree of Valor tonight. And thank you to Navy Chief Tom. How do you say his last name, Lori?
Nagy. Just like Navy, but with a G.
Oh, well, there you go. Tom Nagy. There you go. He's incredible. I like him. He's very positive. So we're going to say thank you, and thank you for his service and all those who serve or have served, and for tuning in and join us again. We will be back on at 9 p.m. tonight. And then again, we are on tomorrow night with a special guest that is coming on. And that's what I'm going to roll out for you with, is that guest that's coming on Thursday, tomorrow. I'm not supposed to say days, but I just did. So we have a show coming to you tomorrow night with one of the artists that are coming on. I have not seen this video, so I'm a little hesitant, but let's take a look here. Here we go for what is coming up.
Calling the tribe. On a bass boat jamming Whiskey River, Blue Rock is gonna make me shiver. If it ain't right, they don't wanna be wrong. Gonna let loose all summer long. If it ain't right, we don't wanna be wrong. Gonna let loose all summer long. It's gonna make me shiver. If it ain't right, they don't wanna be wrong. Drop another tune, I'm about to ride. On a bass boat jamming Whiskey River, Blue Rock's gonna
That is Copperhead. So that is a new band that is coming on. So Lori, we have a ton of musicians, and I can't wait to do what we've always met. We initially met to do Patriot Fest. So Patriot Fest is going to be on its way too. But again, tune in, get with us about what we're doing with CMA and the tribe with the whole show, Patriots Inside the Wire and the Tree of Valor. Lori, good night to you. Say hello to Miss Lexi for me. I have to say her name in every show. So hello, Lexi. We love you. And
She listens.
I know she sure
With her
does.
dad.
She sure does. And again, I will not be calling you at 5 something in the morning. So, all right. Nice to see you again. I can't wait
You
for our
too.
next guest. And to everyone out there, I hope you have a great evening. We're going to sign out now and say good night.